going to do a little bit of a recap of things that I took away. There was so much to take away from today, though, and I just want to, again, thank everybody. The panelists, the moderators did a great job, our hosts. This is fabulous. We shouldn't wait 4 years to do the next one. There were things we left on the cutting room floor, and I kind of captured a few of those things, but you know, I think based on the conversation, we got it started. Honorable Murphy, great that he could be with us today. He anchored us on the strategic issues. He started right out of the blocks with national security, economic security, linking those two things together. And while we focus a lot on Russia and China in our conversations, let's not forget the criminal element and what it does to our country. And some of the things that we talked about today are equally applicable to fighting that threat as well. Heard from a few people, but he introduced it first, so he gets credit for it, public and private partnerships. Thinking innovatively about how we expand upon those in terms of meeting some of the challenges that we have. Carrots and sticks. Followed by Dr. Sullivan, leading the operational technology panel. What a diverse panel with a whole bunch of different perspectives on how to tackle something which is very hard, very complex, and very imperative. Some of the notes that I took away from that: prevention. Let's move on from prevention. Let's get to kill chains. Let's start thinking about active defense. Can we detect it? Can we respond to it? Can we recover from it? The big thing is that it is likely to happen. What you do after it happens is really what's going to matter. The attack surface is so broad here that training people to now look at those types of things and building those teams to get after the kill chains is really where we want to be. Interestingly, this was the panel that introduced the idea that from a critical infrastructure standpoint and attacks on our critical infrastructure, that there's a cognitive effect that could occur from that as well. And we talked about this in the last panel. And I kind of like that got brought out. We talked about the Pearl Harbor analogy and whether it was good or not. Pearl Harbor was an act of war. Some of the other things that could happen or have happened on our critical infrastructure, we would arguably say, which is part of the reason why I asked the question of Mark, fall below the threshold of war, as it is described today by lawyers. And this is something that we actually have to grapple with, both from, is it a military problem? Is it a Department of Homeland Security problem? Is it an FBI problem? We might answer to all of those, yes. But we do have to figure this out. We moved on to people. General Brown quoted General Abrams, "Army is not made up of people, it is people." Erica Ford really echoed that in a lot of her comments. Keep the person central. Whatever it is that you're doing, they talked a lot about different work roles and incentives and programs and strategies across all of the panelists. At the end of the day, authentically, if you are not keeping the person central to this conversation, everything you're doing probably is going to miss the mark, and that there's no silver bullet here. I thought the other really good piece that I pulled out of it was, hey, this is a national problem. If I can come back to something that Honorable Murphy said was, hey, the Army needs to tell its story. This national problem of the technical expertise that we need in our Army, in DoD, in the public sector, in the private sector, that pipeline is not big enough for all of us. So I would ask, as you leave out of here today, if you, part of your organization, whether you're the media or industry or government, if you're interacting with your community in any way, I think you can help with that. This is, I do take away, this is a national problem. Artificial intelligence, Mr. Mollenkopf. Okay, so I wrote down here that I never want to get into an AI debate between Sidney Freeberg and Mike Gaston. That was my takeaway. Thank you. Amazing, amazing national treasures that we had on that panel today. I actually can't say enough about this panel. Cal Fox urged experimentation. And I do think that we are doing that, right? And we'll continue to do that. The Project Convergence series that Army Futures Command is sponsoring is getting after that. We're looking at how to do that, enabling the cloud for the warfighter. You know, General Jethray and the network CFT is working on the data fabric. We're also working on how do we deliver the analytics at the edge. And so I think we are on the right path based on what I heard from the panelists here. Instrumentation being foundational. Thought that really rung true for some of the things that we're working on at Army Cyber, and the idea of correlation. And I think for some of the very hard things that we have to identify, you know, where there is not necessarily a tool in our kit bag that can identify what is happening on our network for us, this idea of being able to use our data, doing that correlation, leveraging AI to do it, I think is spot on. Man, and okay, the Ukrainian panel. Fantastic. Some of the comments that I took away from this one was being able to see what is happening on the battlefield in near real time. It is not just about human and SIGINT, but there are implications for us as well as US soldiers on the battlefield that applies to us. I am reminded that our combat training centers actually are leveraging FirstIO organizations and others in order to start to sensitize rotational units to some of the challenges of being able to be seen. The transparency that is on the battlefield right now, if you emit a signature, if you have your cell phone, if you brought your contractor with you to the battlefield, all of those things potentially expose you in ways that this panel talked about with respect to the Ukraine-Russia fight. The will to fight. Wow, that was an amazing part of the conversation. It wasn't only the will to fight, measuring that where it wasn't present maybe for the Russians, where it was present for the Ukrainians. You look at the will of the coalition, if you will, NATO and EU standing by. I'm not sure that was, the hard question to Colonel Stinson, who took the question, hey, how do we measure this better? And I would almost say, I whispered to Les was, hey, in the American Revolutionary War, bringing it back to the Army birthday, we didn't get that right either. The Brits were not prepared for us to be shooting from behind trees. Our Army adapted, and we had a will to fight, and we did it. So that's probably a great place to end. Army birthday. Hooah.
Well, what I would tell you on behalf of General Brown and our entire team at AUSA, thanks so much for taking the time to come out. It helps when you got a great Army partner. She worked us pretty hard, so we put these panels together. On your way out, if you're not already a member, please become one. But we know you all already are. And also, Jared, raise your hand, wave your hand over there. And Pat, y'all thank him on the way out because those guys put all this stuff together. All right, enjoy your day. Please be safe.